Episode 62, Stay Classy San Diego. Here we go. Excited to have Danny Han in the studio today. We're going to introduce him a little bit. And I just wanted to say, really excited to have Danny in. He was referred by a friend of mine coming to the studio today. Danny is living in San Diego. What part are you in?
Del Mar.
Del Mar. Okay, yeah. And he is the founder of Karma Boxing, which he opened a year and a half ago. He's been boxing since, what, you're 16?
16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been a little all over the place. You've been traveling abroad. That's sort of what influenced your coaching and your rise in the personal fitness industry. But your roots are actually in Korea.
Yeah.
And you have been, we can talk a little bit about the Buddhism aspect of it too, which is, I think, a big part of your philosophy and how you approach clients.
Karma Boxing.
Karma Boxing, exactly. But you coach everybody from 11 to 75. You want to create a space where people can prove that they're special, that they're strong. You want to have an inclusive space, but it's also a non-negotiable that people be hardworking, disciplined, showing up on time, and committed. So Danny, just tell us a little bit about your background, your upbringing, your roots, and sort of what got you to this point in life.
Background, upbringing, roots. What got me to this program? Let's see. Let's do a general overview.
Yeah, general overview.
Yeah. I was born in Korea. When I was born in Korea, I moved over to the United States when I was 4. Grew up in the Bay Area until like the 3rd grade, and I've been a San Diegan ever since.
Okay.
See, background-ish. And then let's kind of go more of like a general overview.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ever since then, I've been in San Diego. I did elementary, middle, high school, college, all the way over here.
Where'd you go to middle school in San Diego? Just curious.
Middle school, Oak Valley.
Oak Valley.
High school, Del Norte, and college, UCSD.
UCSD, okay. Almost went to UCSD. It was between that and UCLA for me. Ended up going to UCLA, but UCSD, also great school. Sometimes I like to call it UC Socially Dead, but
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah, sure. You're like, I hear it all the time. It's so funny.
I
But,
get it. Yeah.
but anyway, so tell me a little bit about the boxing stuff in terms of, you're getting into boxing yourself as a teenager, but then at some point down the line, you decided that, I want to impart this to other people. I want to train other people. I want to see other people succeed in the realm of fighting. Like, talk to me a little about like what made you want to be a trainer.
Well, I actually originally never really wanted to. It was more of when I was growing up, I just never wanted to work a 9 to 5. Just like the idea of having to sit behind a desk and like clock in, clock out, and like work for someone else. That just sounded like literal hell to me. And I was like, okay, well, what's like some way I can like make a difference and like make my mark on the world, without having to do that. And then I was like, I got a kind of interesting childhood. So I got in a lot of fights when I was younger, and I won a lot of those fights, and I was like, I'm kind of good at this, so maybe I should check this out. And even during high school, I never wanted to go to college. I was just like, all right, I'm going to graduate high school, and I'm just going to be a professional fighter. That's what I'm going to do. And then after I graduated high school, that's what I did. I fought, and then while I was doing that, I just kind of I kept my eyes and ears open. And what I saw was a lot of these fighters, like you don't really get to choose your destiny. Like you are essentially at the mercy of like promoters and managers. And at the end of the day, a lot of these people, you will end up broken and battered, and like you can barely talk. You have CTE. Your personal relationships are like terrible, and like you have no control over your future. I was just like, well, that's not what I wanted either. And then midway through that, I was like, okay, well, I love this. How can I keep doing this? For fun, and like, what is an attainable way to bring this into my future? And then I thought, okay, well, if I had like if I owned a bunch of boxing gyms, I suppose I could keep training like at the gyms that I own at, and I'm still in that world, and I can keep fighting, and I'll have a very sustainable income. So I was like, okay, well, if I want to do that, I should probably go to school. You know? So I decided to go to UCSD, and while I was in UCSD, I was going there for management science, and I had the opportunity to buy into a boxing gym. So, dude, I just went all in on that.
Went for it.
Yeah, I went for it. That was probably one of the bigger life moments where I knew, I was like, dude, I want this, because I was going to school full time. I was working like 3 different jobs, like just so I can like get enough money to buy into this business. And like, dude, I was doing everything. I would even like, I sold my own blood for that, just to like get enough capital to buy into this.
No
I was
way.
like, this is what I want to do. And once I did it, we were doing great. And we were doing so well that I was like, all right, cool, let's just go all in. So I dropped out of school, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, like for sure. And then COVID hit.
Ooh.
And then I was just like, all right, this is like, honestly, it's kind of funny, you know? But,
but
I just thought, like, dude, like, well, this is like my time to prove myself.
Yeah.
You know, like, do not get into business if you think it's going to be easy. Like, you should get into business because you want the adventure of it. And then I was just like, dude, this is like my first big test. Like every successful businessman, every successful business, they always go through these like trials and tribulations, and that's the way you handle those trials and tribulations really mark your success as a business or as an individual. So
once
like,
you're battle tested,
yeah, exactly. And I was like, all right, well, this is my time to shine. Let's do this. And we actually did better through COVID.
Really?
Yeah, we did better because
that's amazing.
It was a smaller gym, and during COVID, you know, you work out, so you kind of have an idea, right? Like all those big commercial gyms, no one wanted to go to anymore.
Yeah.
Because you had to wear the mask while you're working out.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing a mask on the treadmill, you know?
No.
And then
it's miserable.
Yeah, so they would be looking out for other like boutique like fitness studios and stuff. And then like I just grabbed it by the neck. I was like, come work out here.
Yeah.
And dude, it was hilarious. Dude, like we no music, no air conditioning. Like we would just like be like, hey, come on in. And like we'd open the garage door. Like people would like run inside. Like we shut the garage door. Like we get a workout in. And like even when people would leave, I would have people leave like 2 at a time. So it's not too suspicious and stuff. It was, I don't know, honestly, it was like the most important thing was like I was having fun with it.
Yeah,
I was just like, dude, this is so legal, but this is like also like hilarious.
Super challenging.
Yeah, so we came out better than ever. And then it just came to be time for me to go out on my own. And before I did that, I did like a little like vision quest, like a journey over back to my homeland, back to Korea. Yeah. And I was like, okay, like that was awesome, that was fun, but now this is like my next big adventure.
When did you? So you were born in Korea, right?
Yeah.
And then South Korea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then when did you?
Yeah,
I figured. But at what point did you actually move to the United States? How old
when
were
I was
you?
4.
4. Okay. Yeah. And then, just in the last few years, you went back to Korea for a bit.
Yeah, I actually just came back like a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, so you go there pretty often.
Yeah, I'd say like every 2-3 years. It's important to stay in touch with your roots. Like,
yeah, and you still have family there, I imagine too.
Yeah.
So, talk to me a little bit about Korea. So, when you went to Korea and the experience you just described, like what did you sort of take away from there that fed into who you were becoming as a person and as a trainer, as an entrepreneur? Like what did you really learn from that experience?
What I needed that as an entrepreneur, because I was done with my last venture, and it's like now to start this new one, and I just needed a little bit more guidance from the universe. And you know, I was raised Buddhist, so while I was in Korea, I went to this seaside temple there, and I was just meditating in front of a Buddha statue, and I almost like felt the statue telling me like, dude, it is like your purpose, like to teach people inner peace and mindfulness through fighting. And that's what I had myself growing up. It's I had actually wanted to be a Buddhist monk when I was younger. I had a little bit of a troubled past, and I wanted to find peace within myself. So I was training to become a Buddhist monk, and while during that, I just kind of realized that I was learning more through fighting, and I was finding more inner peace through fighting. And so that's kind of what's
like paradoxical.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, it's like if you really think about it, it's like anyone can be mindful and meditative and like clear your mind when like you're in a beautiful empty field with the birds chirping and everything. But, dude, when you can like clear your mind and just be like so like strong and within yourself, when you're inside the ring and the other person's trying to take your head off and you hear the crowd screaming for your blood, like when you can clear your mind, then that is true mindfulness in my mind. And that's what I try to teach a lot of people. It's like, you know, I'm not making them, you know, get into fist fights or anything, but it's like we are all going through our own fight. And what I'm just doing for them is I'm just giving them a place where they can work it out, where they can actually physically fight through whatever they are fighting through, because we're all going through our own fight.
Sure. Was there, I'm curious, like going to the sort of your background again, like was there a point in your upbringing when, you know, you said you would get into fights as a kid, like maybe you're I don't know, beating the shit out of someone, you get this epiphany where you're like, hey, like, I'm pretty good at this. Like, I should do this full time? Or was it a very like gradual process of, you just sort of came to that realization slowly that, I didn't want to do the 9-to-5 thing?
No, I had always never wanted to do the 9-to-5. I was just like a terrible, terrible student. And I hated it when people would tell me what to do. And I'm like, dude, I see the future. Like, this is not going to be a good thing. And so there's that. And then, the one of the things about when I would like get into these fights at school is just like, that's when like everyone would like come watch and stuff. And what I just kind of realized, like, it's terrible, but I'm like, dude, I kind of liked it. Like, it was more fun.
It was electric.
Beating someone up when other people are watching.
Sure.
And I was like, I kind of liked that showmanship aspect of it, where it's like sometimes if people didn't come and watch, I'm like, why are we even doing this? So, like, no one's even gonna see me kick your ass. Like,
Gladiator.
Like, exactly. Yeah, great movie. Yeah.
Great movie, by the way. Isn't there a second one coming out pretty soon?
I don't know.
I thought I heard.
But I'm ready for it.
Great movie. And I want to talk a little bit about your particular journey in towards professional fighting. So, tell me a little bit about like what sort of level of fighting you're at, and sort of what your next ambition is for moving towards being a professional fighter.
Yeah. So I did Taekwondo all the way, like, ever since I was a kid. Boxing since I was 16, Muay Thai since I was 16. I wrestled in high school. Even during college, that's when I did my Muay Thai fights. And right now, with the gym that I have right now, and because of all the revenue I'm able to bring in, I have the ability to train with whoever I would like to, because I have the ability to travel wherever I want to train. And it's like, dude, if I want to do a little bit of like Dutch kickboxing, get really good at that, I'll fly to the Netherlands, train with like Mike's gym over there. And let's say if I want to, like, if I want to work on a little bit more like European style boxing, I'll go over to France, train with a couple coaches on the national team over there. And it's just, I am using my position right now to be able to prepare myself for the future of fighting. That's awesome.
So what, like, let's talk about the coaching stuff a bit. So, like, in terms of every coach is different, every trainer is different, and every coach has a different approach to how they treat clients, how they help them actualize their goals. Like, what, if you had to sort of describe, and it doesn't have to be like a 2-sentence summary, but like, what is your sort of overall coaching philosophy? How do you sort of set goals for your clients, help them actualize those goals? Like, what is your philosophy as a coach, and how do you pass that on to other people?
You know what? It's actually, the answer is going to be a little surprising. It's just to have fun.
Yeah.
It's just like, because a lot of the people that I am training is, they're not going to be professional fighters, and they don't want to be professional fighters. It's just want
to know how to fight.
Yeah, they want to know how to do it, and you're not going to do it unless you actually like to do it. And if you let people have fun with it, and they're going to work way harder than like if you try to make someone do something. Yeah. So honestly, dude, like my coaching philosophy is just let the person have fun, like treat them with respect, let them have fun, but you will train hard.
That's difficult because, like, I mean, as I told you before set, like I took some like around a year of boxing lessons. Extremely difficult, very grueling. You feel like you're gonna pass out half the time. Like, how do you make that fun? I mean, is it just like kind of the way you structure the sessions, or like what is it about your coaching that makes it fun?
Number one thing is I like treat them with respect.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a big like thing with like boxing coaches and martial arts coaches, and just like they try to be all gung ho and macho about it. It's like, dude, like, don't talk to me like that. I'm a grown ass man. You know, it's like, and I'm not gonna talk to these people like that either. They're not kids. They're like grown ass men and women. I'm like, that's just disrespectful. Like, so number one, you treat them with respect, and then number two, honestly, like, once you show them that they can do extremely difficult and hard things, that becomes addicting. Like, that's like that, like, that's a serotonin rush, like, that they're looking for. That's like the hit of dopamine that they're looking for. It's essentially like, I'm essentially like the neighborhood, like, dopamine dealer, you know? Like, you come on in, I give you, like, you get a hard workout, you do some crazy shit that you never thought you could do before, and then, dude, you leave feeling addicted. You're like, dude, I gotta do that again. I gotta do that again. And the most important thing is just apply that to like a gentle attitude at first, but towards the end, you just crank it up. You just crank it up to 1,000%. And before they know it, they're just like sweating bullets, and they are just going as hard as they've ever gone in their life, even.
Hey there, San Diego. I've been using Dorado Nutrition supplements for a little while now, and I can tell you they've made a huge difference in my health journey. Not only are they made in the USA with high quality ingredients, but they're also rigorously tested for purity, potency, and safety. And the results speak for themselves. With ingredients like Fidogia agrestis and Tonkat Ali, I've seen more energy, better gut health, improved T levels, muscle mass, and performance. And the best part is that you can get a $5 discount off your next purchase with the promo code STAYCLASSY at checkout. Trust me, if you're looking to take your health and fitness journey to the next level, Dorado Nutrition is the way to go. Yeah. And I think that, I mean, people come in probably knowing like, they want to know how to fight, but I feel like you kind of leave, obviously not the first time maybe, but like after a while you start to leave like a different person. Yeah. Like, tell me about that. Like, tell me about how you take somebody who maybe wants to know how to fight, but they don't understand the work it's going to take to get there. Like they don't really know from the outset, like this is going to push me to a place that I didn't think I could go. Like, how do you get someone to like mentally go into that dark place, go to that place where they don't think
themselves. They do it themselves. It's my training philosophy and my own life philosophy is a strong body is home to a strong mind. It's like I don't like sit them down and be like, okay, man, like I need you to like visualize all these things. Yeah. It's just like, no, we just train super hard. And like while you're doing it, they just come to realizations on their own. They're just like, you know what, like honestly, what I just realized, if I just hold on for 10 more seconds longer, like I can get what, like I was able to achieve my goal here. And I'm starting to realize that outside of my like personal life, if I just hold on to it for a little longer, like I can do it there too. And it's just like,
they tell you that.
I don't have to do a thing, you know, I just give them the avenue to go 100%, and oftentimes people will take it. You just have to give them the opportunity to do so.
I'm curious to answer this, everyone, but do people ever come to you, like clients, and I don't know if they would even disclose this to you, but people come, maybe they want to train because maybe they had a rough background, rough upbringing, like, and maybe they were picked on, or maybe they, physically aren't the most intimidating person, and they've been in a bad situation. So like, do people ever come to you in that situation, and how do they like come out feeling?
Yes, I get that a lot, especially with women, because sometimes they go through some very serious and like very traumatic things, and they're just ready to take back their power. And like whenever I have that, I'm like, all right, like this is a very, very serious one. Like this needs to get done like ASAP. And that is probably, I always think my job is very gratifying, but like just seeing someone to be able to come back, like rise from the ashes like that is just, it's so like gratifying.
And you've seen that, huh?
Yeah, I've seen that happen. And then, or it's just like, I'll have like young teenage girls come on it, and they're just like, they just don't know their place in the world, and they just feel very vulnerable, and like just to see them like just gain that strength and start looking at the world in a different lens, like that is a very like gratifying thing for me to be able to do for somebody. I think it's interesting because like working out for me has kind of been that, like, as you said before, I love the gym, I love working out, and for me, like, as a kid, I think I was a very fearful kid. There was a lot of like fear, insecurity, but working out sort of pushed me through that. And that came from my dad, who like got me in the gym by the time I was 12, 13. It was one of those things where like, when you're working out and when you feel strong, like physically, you feel strong mentally, and and it feeds into each other, right? It's a back and forth. It's a loop. But I sort of think that like looking back over the years is like, I thought my dad was just wanting me to, be strong for whatever. But I realized, the whole time, like what he was really teaching me was that mental toughness, that fortitude to apply to areas outside of the gym, to, to apply to the workplace, apply personally, apply to relationships. And so I think it's cool that you have an opportunity to do that for a career, like, to be that coach that person needs. Maybe they're coming from a rough upbringing, rough background. Maybe they've had like a traumatic situation, and you're helping them see that, hey man, like, or hey gal, like there's a lot more to you than that trauma. There's a lot more to you than that situation. Like you can overcome that. You don't have to be this fearful person. Yeah, you can overcome that just like you're about to overcome this. And to your point with like the working out, like when it just comes to like lifting weights, dude, there's just like something about like writing down like, all right, I'm gonna hit this like 55 pounds like dumbbell press like 12 times, and I'm gonna do the 60, then the 65. Just writing it down and just completing those tasks and feeling good about it, that just applies to everything else, because you say you're gonna lift these weights, you lift the weights and you do it. And then from outside of the gym, you say you're gonna complete these tasks, you complete your tasks and you do it. I think definitely your dad was onto something when he teaches you how. That's just effective goal setting.
Yeah,
that's what he taught you.
That's exactly. Yeah. And on the point of goal setting, like in terms of, people come in with all sorts of different goals, and everybody like has goals or has desires, but like what does it really take? Not just with boxing, but with entrepreneurship even, because that's also your experience, like in your wheelhouse. Like what does it take to, like, you set a goal? And then to get there, like, is there kind of an ABC for you, or like what is your system to actualizing goals?
Number one, if you don't have a work ethic, like honestly, just don't even do it.
Forget
it. It's all right. You can just like, you don't have to be. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Like just don't do it. You're never gonna make it. Like you have to have that is just baseline, just work ethic. You need to have that.
Yeah.
And the next thing you need to have is you need to have courage. Like you need to be okay with failure. You need to be okay with people not believing in you. You have to be okay with feeling ashamed of yourself, and you have to be okay with just starting back anew right away. There's a quote that I really like. It's true happiness comes from freedom, and freedom comes from courage. Like you need to know that you can see your vision, like you can make it happen, and that no one else can stop you with it. And you need to know that within your heart. Like,
yeah. Well, I was thinking about what you just said. It was true happiness takes.
Yeah. Happiness comes from freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom comes from courage.
Courage. Yeah. And that's like what you instill in your clients, right?
Yeah.
And that's also what took you to the point of not just being a fighter, but also being somebody who's an entrepreneur, who's doing this successfully, who has professional aspirations. But tell me a little bit about like the entrepreneur stuff. Like, tell me about maybe a time or a situation where you failed, or you experienced a challenge that you had never experienced before, and what was it inside of you, like intangibly, that made the difference in you not giving up?
All right, let's see. I mean, I think a big thing was like COVID. Yeah. Like it's just like, I'm just doing good, and I'm just like everyone's happy. Everyone's like, dude, like you're killing it. I'm like, thank you, I am killing it. And then like COVID happens, and everyone's like, there's just like a dark cloud. Everyone's like, dude, I'm so sorry to hear what happened. Because I told everyone like, when you leave school for something, like everyone's already thinking like, all right, like who do you think you are, buddy? Yeah, like, calm down, and then that happens, and then you just see everyone like thinking in their heads like, I knew that was gonna happen. That wasn't gonna work out, But number one, you just have to be able to just not even care about that. That's just like outside noise. Like, dude, it's like honestly, like, no one really cares about you anyways. Like they'll think about you for like 10 seconds throughout their day. Or some people will talk about you 5 minutes like within their conversation, and they're gonna move on. It's like, don't worry, like they don't care that much anyways. Just focus on yourself. And then from there, it was just not being afraid of failure. Like just being like, okay, cool. Like the worst thing that possibly could have happened has happened. Like, what now?
What now?
Yeah. And then you actually can't be afraid about it. You can't fake it. You actually just can't be afraid about it, and you have to start coming up with solutions right away. And then also you have to enjoy it. Yeah. Like that's like a big thing. Was just, I remember like when that happened, I was just like, dude, this is cool. Like this is like, I can like actually set myself apart from the pack now. Yeah. Like this is my opportunity to show everyone that I belong here. Yeah. Like not only do I belong here, this is my space. Like you have to love those moments. Like it's just like when you get knocked down, it's like that's when people start tuning into your fight. They're just like, dude, like what's gonna happen now? What is he gonna do? And it's just like, dude, I'm gonna fucking kick his ass. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
Well, that was a kick in the teeth, that whole experience for everybody. Yeah. But again, some people saw opportunity, other people saw despair. Yeah. You saw opportunity. Do you think it was like the resilience that you got from fighting, or what do you think it was about you that you've dealt with the situations in life like
Definitely the resilience from fighting. Yeah. It's just like what you learn from it is just like almost everyone is very, very tough, very, very strong, very, very fast, very, very motivated in the first round. Yeah. Like everyone's like a world champion in the first round. But it's like, dude, by the time you get to that third one, it's like that's when you can really start separating yourself from the pack. And then that's what I saw. I was just like, okay, cool. Like in my past, this is what I've seen. People tend to drop off here. I'm so close. Like I am just so close. I just like a couple more minutes, just a couple more minutes. You just have to want it more than the other guy, and then you can have everything.
yeah, I mean, it's a cliche quote to use for a podcast, but, Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
That is true.
And I feel like, I, as people on the show probably tired of hearing me talk about, my time playing rugby in college, like, when you get hit the first time, that's where you that's where it sets apart the people who are going to keep playing, the people who are going to ultimately be successful from the people who just aren't going to make it, because there's a level of physicality to that game that you don't really know it with practice, with training, until the moment you actually get hit for real. That you just like stand up and you decide, like, what am I going to do about this?
Yeah, it's like when you get hit, or you're like, oh my God, I got hit. Or you're just like, oh yeah, that was awesome. Like, let's do that again. I'm going to hit you first.
Run it back,
like, let's go, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So, fighting for you, I mean, it started when, from a young age, and then, ultimately like led you to the ring. But tell me a little bit about, like, for people who are listening to this thinking like, oh, like, Danny's, a great fighter. He's a great trainer. He's a great entrepreneur. But I just, I'm not aggressive. I don't necessarily have what it takes to be a fighter. Like, do you feel like it takes a certain type of person to be a fighter? Do you think that it takes a certain amount of like physical strength? Or are you of the philosophy that like sort of anybody can do this with the work ethic?
Truly, yeah. Anyone can do it. And like, when we think about like fighter, like in like a ring sense, like, that separates everything. But let me tell those people, it's like outside of the ring and outside of like, more organized fighting, like you are going to have to be a fighter. Yeah. Like you don't get to choose. True. Like life comes at you hard. Yeah. And sooner or later, you're going to have that moment where life is going to look you right in the eyes, and you're going to have to be a fighter. Yeah. So I'm sorry, you don't get to choose whether you want to or not. Yeah. It's just, I just feel like when I actually do train for like fighting in the ring, at least I'm able to prepare myself for the fights outside of the ring. Yeah. So
does that happen to you often, or
outside of the ring? Yeah. People get like dumb about it, And
is it because you're a fighter that people like find out that it and they're like, hey, like I want to mess with this guy, or
it's really less of that. It's just randomly? Like like people just do stupid shit, and it's just like, dude, don't do stupid shit. And then like, I feel like guys like think they're a lot tougher than they are, and then just like,
especially with a few drinks.
Yeah, I'm just like, dude, you're really not.
You don't want to try this.
I'm like, do you have health insurance or what?
Yeah,
like, it's like make sure
sign
you
this
have
waiver
that
first.
Yeah, exactly, and stuff. Like it happens, but it's such a stressful situation because like when you're someone who actually knows how to fight, like your mind isn't like, oh, I'm gonna like beat this guy up. Your mind is like, okay, how do I take care of this situation and not beat him up too much where I go to jail? Yeah. Like, that's not what I'm not thinking about, like, oh, am I going to beat you or not? I'm like, am I going to beat you too bad? I'm going to go to prison. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm most worried about during those situations. So I try to avoid it as much as I can, yeah.
All right. We can either move on, or you can tell us a story anonymously about a time that you had to do that.
I can tell you a story. Okay, yeah. It was like one of those, like, stupid little internet trolls and stuff, and I had an ex-girlfriend at the time, and she was just like online, on Facebook and stuff, and then he was like running his mouth, and I'm like, dude, you're not like that tough, like calm down, you're talking like shit to like a girl, and then he was just like, oh dude, like I'll fuck you up. I'm like, no you won't. And then he was just like, dude, I'm serious, like tell me time or place. So I told him time or place, and
he showed up.
And he showed up. It was at a boxing gym, and not mine, but a different one in San Diego, and he was like actually dumb enough to show up.
Oh my god.
And even before that, I was just like, dude, you're like, for some reason you seem to think that like you're a good fighter. Like what about, are you trained? Like who do you think you are? And he's like, oh, you mean that boxing and MMA shit? That shit is gay. And I'm just like, oh, dude, it's going to be such a nice time, And so he showed up, and I was like, oh, thank you, God.
Oh, man. Did people tune up, or was it just you and him, or like what happened?
It was just me and him. I didn't tell anyone about it because this is, I was around like 22. I was like, dude, way too old to be doing this kind of stuff.
How long did the fight last?
Dude, it lasted around like 7 seconds.
Yeah, 7 seconds.
7 seconds.
I thought you were about to say minutes.
Seconds. I threw a leg kick at him, swept him under his feet, swept him out of his feet, and then as he was standing up, I threw a head kick at him, but it glanced off his shoulder, got the top of his head. As my leg was coming back, I hit him with a jab cross. He fell down, and then I played basketball with his head. Like dribbled his head on the ground and
knocked him clean out, or
he was out. Yeah.
Man, well, valuable lesson learned.
Yeah, well, he won't be doing it again.
No, I don't think he will. Yeah. That MMA shit is gay, man. That guy was like, all right, just real quick. Hey there, San Diego. I've been using Dorado Nutrition supplements for a little while now, and I can tell you they've made a huge difference in my health journey. Not only are they made in the USA with high quality ingredients, but they're also rigorously tested for purity, potency, and safety. And the results speak for themselves. With ingredients like Fidogia agrestis and Tonkat Ali, I've seen more energy, better gut health, improved T levels, muscle mass, and performance. And the best part is that you can get a $5 discount off your next purchase with the promo code STAYCLASSY at checkout. Trust me, if you're looking to take your health and fitness journey to the next level, Dorado Nutrition is the way to go. That's fun stuff. But tell me a little bit about, in terms of, so we've talked through the coaching, but I want to talk more about the personal stuff. So you mentioned earlier about, the trip to Korea and sort of how that was instrumental for you both as a fighter, as a trainer, and as an entrepreneur. But for people, there's a lot of people listening to this who probably don't know a lot about Buddhism. They don't know about, they probably don't even know the basic tenets of Buddhism. They don't know what it is about Buddhism other than that it's, perhaps a Far Eastern religion.
Yeah.
But tell me, just kind of running me through what it is about Buddhism, about your faith that sort of inspires you as a coach, as a human being, and sort of explicate that a bit for people who are just totally unfamiliar with Buddhism.
It's really less of a faith thing. It's really more of just a philosophy to live life.
Yeah.
It's just number one, you want to think about everything objectively and just take yourself outside of the picture. It's like this. There's a very famous story where it's a man comes to the Buddha and he's like, I want to be happy, And the Buddha was like, first, remove I, that is ego. Then, remove want, that's desire. Now you're just happy. It's just and that's a big thing. It's just understand that you can be that whenever you want. It's we always kind of have to think that oh, I'll be happy when I have this, when I have that, when I have this, when I do this. It's just you don't need all of that. It's just you can be happy right now, and you can still do those things, but just do it from a happy place. It's exercise. This comes up in exercise a lot. It's oh, dude, I'm gonna really love myself once I have a six pack, or I'm gonna really love myself once I look the way you do. It's dude, exercise is the greatest act of self-love that you can do. If I told you to do 500 push-ups, you're just I don't really want to do 500 push-ups, But then if I told you, hey, if you do 500 push-ups, your mother will be able to live another minute, for her life. Dude, you'll crank that shit out right away. Why don't we apply that kind of effort into loving ourselves? So I tell people, it's exercise is the greatest act of self-love, and you're not going to be able to do exercise very well unless you love yourself right now.
Yeah.
Don't love yourself later when you look a certain way or when you feel a certain way. Just realize that, that's all you have to do, too. You just have to realize that fact that it's this could happen right now. And that's what I try to push people towards.
It almost reminds me, I don't know if you're familiar, but the Stoics of ancient Greece and Rome, and this sort of taking things objectively, taking desire out of the equation. Not necessarily acting like robots, but just sort of saying there's a time and a place in sort of suppressing our passions so that we can actually be free to do what it is that we need to do as human beings.
It's true freedom. Yeah. No, I love Stoicism. The way I see Stoicism, I was okay, so that's the Western version of Buddhism.
Yeah,
is
pretty
the
much.
way I see it. Yeah. But it's just looking at things at an objective way. Yeah, sure. Looking at it objectively and just being, kind to others and chill.
Yeah.
And,
For you, I know you said Buddhism is more of you describe it more as a philosophy than as maybe a religion, I guess.
Yeah.
But what are some of the other than just sort of thinking about things objectively, what are some of the sort of basic tenets of Buddhism that sort of shape how you approach things personally and also professionally with coaching and stuff?
I would say, no, honestly, it has to be with the mindfulness aspect of it. It's just if someone bumps into you into the street, immediately you can be oh, what a douchebag. I hate this guy. You might turn around and be come back here,
Come back here.
But then the mindfulness aspect of it is just all right, number one, did he do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Number two, if he did do that on purpose, I wonder why he did that. Number three, it's just a bump on my shoulder. I'm not hurt. I'm not mortally wounded. It's just why do I care so much? Is that something that like is from within me? Like, why do I care? Do I feel disrespected? Oh, okay, I feel disrespected. Why do I feel disrespected by that? Like, just looking at every situation objectively.
Sure.
And that's always been like a thing that I have been able to have because of my upbringing. It's like every time something bad, even ever since as a child, I was very blessed to have that kind of mentality whenever I was looking at something.
Even when you were a kid, you had that.
Yeah, even when I was a kid, it's just like and like looking at my goals and stuff, I'm just like, dude, why do you even like want to be like? Because this is another thing. It's like, why do you even want to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
You know, like because even if you don't do it, other people will do it. You know, it's like, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Why do you want to like have a successful business? It's like, these are all questions that are important for you to know for yourself before you decide to set yourself on that path.
Sure.
And then I thought like, okay, like this is like one of the things like I was thinking about like when I was in that temple. I was just like, well, why do you want to do this? Like, it's objective. Like seriously, like why do you want to do this? And then I was thinking like, okay, well, you know, this is a way for me to help people, and this is a way for me to help people that no one else can do. And then just knowing that is like my why. That is like my strength. That is like, you know, when people talk about like, oh my God, the economy is doing so bad, like we're gonna hit into another recession or depression. I'm just like, I don't care. I'm okay with that. Like, you know, like because as long as I have a way to help people, like with my business, I'm okay with it. Yeah. You know, like if something does happen,
you're still training.
I'll deal with it then. You know what I mean? Like I'll deal with it then. Yeah. And I'll still be able to help people.
Yeah.
So because I have that why, it's like nothing scares me like that. So
it's just sort of like what you do and like the way you carry yourself can be removed from those external circumstances.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like recession, depression, COVID, whatever.
Yeah.
But like you still go in and you do what you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what you can control.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking about like, hey, like this thing or that person, how this person feels or what's going to happen if this happens. But you're thinking like, okay, what do I do today?
Yeah.
Like, what is my job?
At the end of the day, you want to be able to look back on yourself, like look at your past and be like, I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever. That's another thing. Like my little like life hack whenever I'm going through like a very tough decision.
Yeah.
I ask myself, if I look back on this moment 5 years from now, what action should I take so I'm proud of myself for that? And that has always been like kind of one of my North Stars. I'm just like, okay, like that's what I should do. Like, I know like this might be a good option, this might be an option, but I know when I look back on it, I will be glad that I did this option.
Yeah. Well, because that's one thing we always talk about on the shows. We talk about legacy and sort of what people want their legacy to be. And it seems like for you, legacy is very much defined by, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the impact you made on other people, whether it's your clients or through your business, like through fighting. And the impact and like how people will remember you has to do with, you know, what did I do to help you be a better version of yourself? That's
always been a thing, especially as I've been maturing, to focus on is integrity, like on how you can help other people. Because I feel like there are a lot of young men out there who are ambitious. They want to just conquer, and they just want to show the world how great they are, and that's ego, you know. And that's coming from the wrong place. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I still have that. I have that ego within me to like, I want to just show people like how awesome I am and how great I am at doing things. But a man who has all that ambition and no integrity is a very dangerous person. And that's the kind of person who is going to hurt the people around them the most. And so I was just like, you know, I don't like the kind of person that I'm turning into. Like, I need to check myself. So I was like, okay, dude, like, you know what? You can work as hard as you want to work. You can grind as hard as you want to grind. However, it has to come from a place of integrity. So I think, like, you know, if a person has ambition and no integrity, that's a dangerous person.
Yeah.
If a person has a lot of integrity but no ambition, you're essentially like kind of useless. You know, so it's like you don't want to be dangerous to, you don't want to be harmful to other people, and you don't want to be useless either. You want to be kind of.
But you want to be capable.
You want to be capable, and you want to be kind. You can't be kind unless you're capable.
Yeah.
If you're just like nice to people, like because you have to be, you're not really nice. You're just you're just butt kissing. You know, you're brown nosing. But when you have the ability to be cruel and mean to people,
but you're not.
But you choose not to, and you choose to show kindness instead, that's a real man. That's what you should be doing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, we see throughout history like people full of ambition, but lacking integrity.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't need to name the names. We all know who they are. But like for you, does integrity have to do with like honesty? Does it have to do with like sort of just the overall way, the way you carry yourself ethically with values at your core, or like what does integrity mean to you?
Honesty is important, right? Yeah, honesty is always a really good one, but I would say that integrity comes from helping other people and just having the confidence to know that you're doing the right thing. Because sometimes you might be doing things that you feel like are honest and good.
Yeah.
However, other people will be like, dude, like that's terrible what you're doing. But integrity comes from strength.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. It's being able to be like, I know that this is the right thing. You may disagree, but you're wrong. I am right. I know that what I'm doing is going to be a good thing, and I'm going to show you that it is going to be a good thing. And to have the confidence within yourself to be able to do that, that is what it takes to have integrity in this world.
And I feel like that's hard.
That is very hard.
Well, it's hard in general, but I feel like it's harder now than it's ever been, in my opinion, because of, you know, the fact that we live in a time where, you know, everything is called out on social media, everything is publicized. Everyone sort of has like this self-image that they're trying to portray to the world, which, you know, can be very deceptive. You know, it's like, oh, I'm living this great life on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. But you know, just the dissonance of that from the reality of who we are and like being authentic in that way is, in my opinion, more difficult than it's ever been.
It is difficult, but what I find like the opposite of that, like the counter to that is, you know, just having the confidence to be like, I am right. I know this is the right thing, but also having the humility to, like, when you do the wrong thing, be like, I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought I was doing the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Like, and I'll do better next time. And make sure to do better next time.
Yeah. Now, shifting topics slightly, like, there's, you know, obviously you have aspirations for professional fighting. Is it kind of like more that you eventually would you want to like fight in UFC or what's your? Okay. Yeah.
Just, but like, not because like that's how I want to make my money. Right. I want to make my money through entrepreneurship and through business. I want to do it just because it's fun, just because it's something that I like to do, you know? And then, listen, like, don't get me wrong. It's like, that's not something that you can just do for fun, you know? No. That's like, you have to like that's your life. It is disrespectful for me to be like right now, oh, like, yeah, you know, I'm going to like do this. And then like, I would do that on the side. Like by no means is that something you do on the side, but I want to push myself towards that goal. Yeah. But not have to push myself towards that goal because that's what I'm trying to do because that's how I'm going to be paying my mortgage. That's how I'm going to be paying my bills. It's just something that like I just want to pursue it at a very, very high level, and that's the highest level there is. Do
you have anybody in maybe UFC or it can be boxing, but anybody in that professional level of fighting that you look at and you're like, man, like that is like sort of my inspiration. Like I sort of trying to not necessarily become that person because you're your own person, but somebody that sort of inspires you to pursue that journey.
Oh, that's a good one. You know what? It's actually someone who is very inspiring. Is kind of like, this is not what you're gonna think, but it's like Dana White.
Dana White.
I think the president of the UFC is like probably the most inspiring person, and he's a very controversial person too because everyone's like, you don't pay like your fighters enough, you don't do this, and he's just like, all right, then you do it. Yeah. You know, you make an organization that is like multi-billion-dollar organization like that's that successful. Then you do it. You know, it's like.
He says what he thinks.
Yeah, exactly. And then he actually did it too. Yeah. Like he is the reason that we have it. And you know, I appreciate that kind of like entrepreneurial like spirit. Like that's like that. He is not actually like, you know, he's not fighting on the roster, but I feel like he's one of the biggest fighters there is.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite fighter on the roster or not necessarily?
Oh, that's a good one right now. Let's see.
Like style-wise,
no, there's no one where I can be like, oh yeah, like this is like my favorite fighter on the roster. I can be like, yeah, I like to watch these like guys fight. Like I love the way how like Justin Gaethje fights. Like, he's right there. He's just like, dude, let's throw it down right now. You know, and I like the way that he fights.
He's a champ.
Yeah, he's something else. You know, right. I love the way the Dagestanis fight too. You know, they're just like that heavy like wrestling style. But it's like, it's not like the wrestling where they're just like. Just for position. It's like they're getting you down there so they can smash on you. They're not just trying to win the match. They're trying to win the fight, and that's what I like. It's like,
Were you surprised when Khabib retired?
No, not really. No. He's always been like, I march to the beat of my own drum kind of person. And it's true. Like, dude, that guy is like no one can really like control him in that aspect because he has his own like personal code, and he's just like, hey guys, my mom doesn't want me to fight anymore, so I'm not gonna fight.
Yeah, well, he actually, if I'm not mistaken, he actually lived for a long time, even while he was a pro fighter, even while he was making his millions. He actually still lived with his parents, and then his father passing away actually is what led him to say, I don't want to fight anymore because his dad was his coach. So perfectly understandable there. But I mean, do you feel like fighting is like changing a lot now as UFC? Like UFC wasn't really big in my opinion until like sort of the late 90s, early 2000s. Do you feel like fighting as UFC's gotten more and more mainstream is changing for the better?
I would say so. Yeah, definitely. You're seeing a higher level of athlete like going into the UFC, especially. In the United States, where you're just like, okay, dude, like this is like a way for us to to actually kind of like make money and stuff. And see, a big thing is like, you see like high level collegiate wrestlers like really like trying to get into this and stuff. And there's more of an avenue for you to make a living out of it. So I definitely do see a lot of changes. Like back then, like dude, like if you look at like UFC 1, it's like it's insane. It's just like they found like 10 people from a bar and like, hey, you want to fight in the cage? And they're like, like,
it's like get in here, pump them up on whiskey and PCP and beat the shit out of each other.
Did they do it in like Alabama or something? You know what I mean? It's just like they're just like, yeah, hell yeah, like
Sure.
Bum fights. I think you're looking for bum fights, Steve.
Bum fights. Okay. Well, can I do that? I mean, is that still a thing?
Somebody did do it, but I think they got sued because they actually found bums on the street. And then back in sold DVDs. It was back in like the Girls Gone Wild days.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so it's not a thing anymore.
I don't think it's a thing anymore, but bummer. Just like everything else, I'm sure you could still find it on the internet.
Make it happen again.
Underground, dark web kind of thing. Maybe it still happens.
Indeed.
Yeah, but I just kind of wanted to close by talking a little bit more about the coaching side of things. So, because I know that is ultimately your passion. You want to see people become the best versions of themselves, fighting and outside of the ring. And tell me a little bit about like maybe a time, maybe a story that comes to mind of, and you don't have to use their name, but a client who maybe came from a rough background, rough upbringing, or just really had a passion to fight, but like just didn't really know where to go. And you took them in, like sort of turned that into a success story. Tell people about that and like sort of how that person, how that relationship developed over time.
That's a good one. You know what? Like, what I'll say is like, I've been training people ever since I was like 16 years old. Like I told you, like I had absolutely no desire to ever go to like college. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Like having to like I am going to high school because it's like legally obligated for me to do this, like, and so like I was just like that guy, like workout guy at school, the guy who just hit the gym, and like I would literally just like ditch school and go to the gym, and I remember there was this like one guy there who would come and like work out with me, and then I just remember like talking back, and that's what we did like throughout high school, and then within like 4 years later, that wasn't like we didn't even like work out that many times. It was just like we trained like 3 times together. But then like a couple years later, like he came up to me at a house party. I didn't even recognize this guy, and he's just like, dude, I just want you to know that like, you completely changed my life ever since then. Like ever since then, I've just been working on hitting the gym hard, and like I have so much confidence now. And like when I saw him, he was just like this skinny little dude, and now he came up to me, he's like bigger than I am. I'm just like, wow. And then I just realized like, dude, this is like an actual way for me to make an impact within this world.
At that moment, did you know you wanted to be a coach, or?
I just knew I helping people felt good. Yeah. I knew helping people felt good, and I wanted to do it in a way that I could help the most people in the world. It's like, for me, it's just, I love what I do. I love the coaching aspect of it, but I feel like I can help more people. That's why it's like, that's why I don't just like, I'm okay with like working at like at a gym. That's why I'm an entrepreneur. That's why I'm a businessman, is because I feel like I want my ability to help people to be wider than just like me and myself. I'm only one person, I can I can do like 45 hours. Like at the most, like I've done like 72 hours like a week one time. That was pretty insane. Yeah, but it's like, dude, 72 hours a week, like 72 hours within a week is not a lot if you think about like the amount of people that there are. I can't do this like just only my lonesome. Like I need to make this into a bigger thing. Yeah.
Now, let's say there's somebody out there who's listening. It's like, all right, that's great, but Danny's a highly motivated person. He has a strong work ethic. He's been fighting since he was a kid, kind of thing. But for somebody basically who maybe does have work ethic, but they don't, they're maybe naturally timid, or they're sort of afraid, or like, oh man, I don't know if I could take a hit, or I don't think I'd be good at fighting. You know, I'm small, I'd get my ass beat, kind of thing. But what would your message be to somebody who's like just thinks that it's not for them, that they can't do it, but maybe that the work ethic is there, but they don't really have the at this point the mental fortitude to think they can be a fighter?
Dude, you're stronger than you are. And just do it. You're stronger than you are. Just do it. And if you don't like it, then at least you can like look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, I tried.
Yeah.
You know, because ultimately, like in life, like whether you can like fist fight someone really does not determine your worth in this world. Like it doesn't matter. However, if you have an interest in something and you don't pursue it out of fear, that is going to affect you for the rest of your life, and
yes.
that's gonna start hitting you in other avenues in life, and
subconsciously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just you see yourself as a scared person. If you have an idea and you see a way to do it, dude, just go for it. Like don't worry about the failure. Like just do it, and at the end of the day, you can look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, at least I tried.
Yeah.
You know?
For me, that was it's kind of a stupid story, but skydiving. Yeah. I kind of had a fear as a kid of heights, and going skydiving was a big deal for me because I got up to the plane and realized, man, the only way I'm going to be leaving this plane is by jumping out of it. And so little things like that, I feel like when you say like, hey, like I'm going to do this thing that subconsciously really makes me afraid. I think it changes you forever. Like just the way that you approach life, like subconsciously, like the way that you like interact with people, the way you engage with people changes forever when you do that thing.
Yeah, it's like that book Atomic Habits by James Clear. He talks about like it's a little vote in that direction. Yeah. It's you're telling yourself like I am like a courageous person. You know, like when you every time you wake up at 6 a.m. To a little bit earlier than you used to accomplish your goal, you're putting a vote in that box saying, I am a disciplined person. I am a disciplined person. I am a disciplined person. And the next thing you know, you are one.
There you go. All right. Well, now it's time for one of my favorite things we do on the show, Classy or Not. We're going to do a segment today with Danny Han, who's our guest. And first of all, I just wanted to say that these are stories that you can submit through our Instagram. You can email them to us. You can reach our contact information at our website, www.stayclassypod.com, or you can DM them to us on Instagram. Our handle is @stayclassysd_. So reach out with your stories. Let us know. We want to hear them. Just something from the week that happened to you that you found was interesting, and then we here on the show gauge whether it is classy or not. So with that being said, I'll take it away with our first story and they're all anonymous, by the way. We're not going to read your name. The first story is as follows. When I was 19, I was helping gift out sweets for red carpet events. I had to walk celebs around and introduce them to vendors. I ended up getting paired up with a very notable early 2000s actor from a popular TV show. Well, they don't say the name, but he was well into his mid-late 20s when we met. He talked to me about his girlfriend and then weirdly asked me for my number when he left. Shortly after, he called me and proceeded to say, I think you're very pretty, and so does my girlfriend. I'm not very sure what you're doing later, but I would love to hang out with you if you would like to come over. Ooh. Obviously, I had to accept. Haha, JK. It was really weird, and to this day, I'm 99% sure they were trying to route me into a threesome, but unverified. All right. I have my own opinion on whether this is classy or not, but off the bat, but what do you think, Danny? How would you approach this situation?
Yeah, I'm glad she did not do that.
Good for her. I'm curious to know. I almost kind of wish she had named the actor now, because I wonder if it is somebody that we would recognize. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that this one is not super classy, at least on his part.
Oh yeah.
To do that, I'm not really a fan of like the whole. This is my personal thing. I'm not really a fan of like couples that are like, oh, we're an open couple, like blah 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 blah. Like, I'm just not a fan of that like kind of relationship. And so, and that's a personal thing, like if that works for you, then awesome. Like, I don't think that that's sustainable. And so I just don't think it's classy. I think, her saying no was the classy thing to do.
Her classy, him not.
Him not classy. Yeah. And I'm gonna see if I can find out who that person was. But then second story is, again, anonymous submission. Paid for an all-inclusive trip to the top of the, oh my God, I'm going to butcher this, Burj Khalifa? Is that how you say it? The top of the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world. Sipped on champagne and had a great time. While I was there, I did end up using the restroom. And when I did, I listened to Young, Wild, and Free. Great song. So he says, I listened to Wiz Khalifa while taking a whiz in the Khalifa. Classy or not?
I don't really have an opinion. I was like, good for you, buddy.
Yeah, good for you. I actually am going to go ahead and say I think this was a pretty classy experience. You know, you're in the Burj Khalifa, you're sipping champagne. You know, taking a whiz, it's like, okay, TMI, man. But you know, Young Wild Figure, great song. So I think it was a classy experience. I've never been to the Burj Khalifa, but I can't imagine that I'd miss the opportunity to do what he just described after hearing that story.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about, do you have any stories for us? Maybe a story with a client or something that happened, funny, embarrassing recently that you can sort of share with us. It's appropriate without calling the person out and making us, putting them on blast on the show. I feel like from that laugh, there is something there. Yeah, you're not sure if you should share it.
No, this is appropriate. Trying to sift it out. Gotta say right now, top of the head. I'm sorry, no.
Top of the head, sorry. No.
Nothing appropriate.
All right. Well, again, this is Classy or Not. We encourage you to submit your stories every week. We're going to be doing this going forward from the show, something we've been experimenting with, but I personally have a lot of fun with it. So please, again, DM us on Instagram at StayClassy, at StayClassySD_, or you can email us through our email, which is on our website. So thanks so much for doing this, guys. This has been a lot of fun, and looking forward to next week's edition.
Yeah.
And to close, like for somebody who's like listening to this, like, man, this guy's awesome, I want to train with him. How can people find you? How can people reach you online, social media, etc.?
Yeah, it's my Instagram handle is at Karma Boxing. My personal handle, Danny Honstrong, and just shoot me a text, 858-248-2530.
All right. Hopefully you don't get inundated with spam after that. Yeah. But on that note, we'll close. Yeah. Thanks so much for doing this, Danny. Absolute pleasure.
Dude, my pleasure.
Let's make it around to you at some point.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. That's a wrap, guys.
This has been another recorded episode of Stay Classy San Diego with your host, Steve Wire. Thanks again to our sponsor, MaxLux Media at maxluxmedia.com. Check us out at stayclassypod.com or any of our social media outlets. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and everywhere else you get your podcast content. Please like and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us continue bringing you important content that you're not going to see anywhere else. And thanks to all of our listeners for tuning into the show. See you next time. Stay classy, San Diego.